What are you talking about, Ferris?
Nah, bro. Trying to look up a Charlo on Google is hella hard because you type in Jamel and they bring up Jamal. You type in Jamal, they bring up Jamel, and even Google be confusing me. So I typed in Jamel, and they took me to Jamal's because is Jamel the one who hasn't fought in like many years?
Have you considered that maybe you're the one messing up?
No, I'm not. Right? I always look up Jamel.
Okay.
They bring up Jamal.
That's not a thing that.
Not because when you go to the siblings, it's the same thing.
Because it's spelled differently. So when I spell one of them, that's the one that comes up. That's all right though.
Oh shit.
So Jermel is the one who fought.
Jermel fought Canelo.
So yeah, right here. So I typed in Jermel, like
Alvarez's fighting on next week too.
Oh yeah, it's a co-main event.
Yeah.
See, I looked up Jermel, and they say Jermall Charlo is an American boxer who held the title from 2019. Previously, the light middleweight title from 2015, 2016. See, but I looked up Jermel. See, I'm confused now. See,
bro, what are you doing? We told you.
Okay.
See, I just googled Jermel Charlo, and Jermel Charlo came up.
Jermel Charlo is the one that fought Canelo. Jamal Charlo is the one that's been out of boxing for the last few years.
I feel like you're just spelling them wrong.
No, I'm not.
Okay, I'm just saying. I just googled Jermel Charlo, and it pops up and it says Jermel Charlo.
Let me screenshot this for you.
Oh my god, what are you doing, Ferris? How many times do we gotta tell you?
I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you what's confusing me.
What's confusing you? We just told you.
And
okay.
Then I typed in Jamal Charlo, and it came up with Jamal Charlo.
Okay, got you.
Ferris is using that bootleg Google.
Google.
He's using Bing.
Bing. Yeah.
Let me stop because they might sponsor us one day.
He said he's using Bing.
Yes, Ring Kings podcast is back. We told you we'd be back. We told you. All right. We bought the crew here. All right. Ferris is in the house.
I'ma need a day off. I think I called Ferris up.
There you go. Yes.
You know what it is.
Big Suge is in the house.
You know what it is.
What's going on? How everybody doing today?
Where's your sound bite, Suge? Where's your sound bite?
I gotta get mine. I have one. I've already have one in mind, but I gotta get it. I haven't done it.
Suge sound bite.
I'll have one.
I thought you were gonna play the Mr. Perfect theme.
No, I don't have that one on here.
Oh man. I tried.
But I got one. Don't worry. I got one.
Okay. It's coming. Look, our friends are here. That can only mean one thing. It is time for the quarterly, not so quarterly, pound for pound list. Huh?
Time for Mike to close his window.
I'm about to say, I'm not.
I thought,
I'm not.
I thought he went like this. I thought he was ascending.
Only one.
I'm not headed to the upper room, guys. It's just
it's the sun.
The sun is right up.
You know,
right
how we started
above
45 minutes ago. You know,
right?
But whatever. It is time for the Ring Kings pound for pound list. All right, the updated rankings that we said we're going to do every quarter, but it looks like it's going to be a biannual thing. We'll see. We'll try to get it together. All right, but if you guys don't know how this works, B's going to explain to you real quick, and then we're going to go through this list because we don't want this to be 2 hours like it was like the last 2 or 3 times we did it.
Yes. So what we did, everybody submitted their top 10 list. And then we're just assigning points, 10 for number 1, 9 for number 2, and so on, and compiling that into a master list for the Ring Kings podcast. So everyone that you see on screen here has submitted their top 10. Nobody else knows who or the order of the list, although this one's going to be a little more predictable than the others, I think, particularly towards the top.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're going to go through the top 10, and we'll just kind of go around and give your reasoning for or whether you agree or not on where that particular fighter is ranked. All right, so coming in at number 10, we've got a guy who caught a vicious beatdown in his last fight, who fell off of my list, fell off of, I believe, Mike's list as well. Made the other three, had been a great champion, was undefeated, but like I said, got in the ring and ran into a buzzsaw in Terrence Crawford. We're talking about Errol Spence at number 10 with 6 points.
I agree with this. I agree with this place. I agree with it because it was pretty. It was. I don't want to take him off the list completely because he was at number 1 at one point. He did get beat down pretty bad, so him falling to 10 does fit a little. I fully agree with it. He's got the rematch if he bounces back, but I don't think he's going to. So I think probably after the rematch, he's going to be fully off the list. But yeah, makes sense pretty much. 10's perfect for him, I think.
Yeah. I couldn't take him off the list coming from number 1 and losing to the number 2 guy. Now he got dominated. He looked like he didn't belong in the ring with them. But I mean, he was number 1 based off of everything he did up until that point before that fight, right? So that doesn't get washed away, in my opinion. And yes, these lists are, we're doing them, currently, like how are these fighters looking now? They didn't look great in that fight, but the guy that was number 2 on the list was the one that did it to him, not some nobody, right? Yeah. So I take that in consideration. He had a poor performance, and sometimes that happens. And yes, we gotta see what he does in the rematch. But I didn't want to knock him completely off. So yeah, I think I had him like 9 or 10.
Yeah, I think in an alternate universe, Charlo is in this spot, and you can flip flop them either way, depending on how you see the list.
Yeah.
So I think it again. Like Jose said, this guy was ranked number 2. He dropped down a lot. Almost 8 spots is a lot to drop down, because how dominated he got. But again, Charlo got dominated, but really nobody had him on the list. So you can alternate universe, you can flip and flop him.
Spence came in at number 8 for you, but to your point, like in an alternate universe, maybe he's coming in at number 9.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Spence, I think that, for me, the reason he fell off of my list is it is the pound for pound list. We're talking about the best fighters currently in the world. So, I don't want to say your past resume doesn't matter. Obviously it does. But when you have a performance like that, where you get completely outclassed by somebody on the list, that it kind of makes you look like you don't really belong there. Now, he comes back and has a better showing, or wins his next fight or whatever, he can jump right back on the list. But as of right now, he just didn't look like one of the top 10 fighters out there currently.
Yeah, and if you don't want him on the list at all, I would completely understand and kind of agree with you if you do that.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you, B. Like that if he had a little bit of a better showing, he would have still been on my list. Look, we all expected that fight to be at least a close fight, like almost instant classic type fight. We didn't get that. So, and I'm a huge Spence fan. It was difficult to take him off the list, but I right now I just don't think he deserves a be there, because he got mollywopped. Let's just call it what it is.
It was a classic ass whooping.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to number 9. Here we have a unified champion, a 3-belt champion, an undefeated fighter with a 100% knockout rate, but a guy who doesn't necessarily have the strongest resume out there. We're talking Artur Beterbiev.
Wow.
Or as fair as
baby. Buff Abe Lincoln.
Buff Abe Lincoln.
My president.
I don't think that he should adopt that nickname, but that's our guy Ferris.
What is his nickname?
I don't know.
Probably something in Russian.
Oh yeah, you're right.
I mean,
he doesn't have one. Sorry.
Just it's one of those things like where they say about attorneys, like lawyers, they don't ask questions that they don't know the answer to.
Mhm.
Don't ask questions that no one knows the answer to here.
Yeah,
Because
all
it
right.
just doesn't
All
look
right, so Beterbiev. I mean, I didn't have him on my list, but I'm not gonna argue with him being on the list. He's an excellent fighter.
Mhm.
Not a lot of activity from him, and just I don't know. The resume is not that strong. I mean, he's dominated everybody, but Anthony Yard, I think, is or Joe Smith is probably his best wins.
Yeah, Marcus Brown. He did beat up Marcus Brown.
Yeah.
Those are the last 3 fights. He's only been to the 10th round twice. Most of his matches end usually around like mid rounds, 5, 6 on average. He does own all 3 of the 4 belts. Activity with me matters. I'm a big fan. I like Dmitry Bivol. I do. I'm not. I don't hate on the guy because that's really the debate between these 2 men.
your
Dmitry
list
Bivol,
would indicate otherwise.
okay, that's a good point. But let me tell you, he hasn't fought. We're doing it right now, like in the moment, right? In the moment, Dmitry Bivol hasn't fought in like in over a year. He hasn't fought since November 5th, 2022. Beterbiev fought in January. I know it's a mattering of months, but still, he was more active. Because sometimes you have boxers who don't fight in 2 years. Tyson Fury hadn't fought in like 2 to 3 years until then he fought a UFC fighter and lost. If you think about it,
No, he fought more recently than that.
he did. I didn't remember.
He beat up his friend Chisora.
Oh, he beat up Derek.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess so. I guess he fought Derek. But when did he fight Derek? So it is what it is.
How you gotta say it like that?
Right?
Oh man, I saw this Eddie Hearn interview, and they asked him who's the craziest fighter you ever like did business. He's like Derek Chisora. He's crazy. And then because like there was one time where Chisora was angry about a business deal, he literally asked Eddie Hearn, "Give me your watch," and Eddie Hearn gave him his watch. He was like, "All right, deal's done. We're good. Let's fight." Like he's a psychopath. He's crazy. Shout out to you, Derek. Don't kill me. Just don't take the steroids. But it's all good. So yeah. He had a more modicum of activity compared to Bivol. That's why I put him on this list. 9. I can accept 9. I can accept it.
If you're wondering why Ferris sounds so passionate, he had Beterbiev at number 6. Ridiculously high. But that's all right. Moving on to number 8. Here we have one of the lighter fighters, one of the younger fighters on the list, but incredibly skilled. Just doesn't have the resume to necessarily back up those skills as of yet. But coming in at number 8, we got Shakur Stevenson with 14 points. Shakur actually made every list except for Haterman Ferris down there.
Wow.
I mean, what do you expect?
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But Shakur, he looks like he's ready to really come into his own, to take that step into stardom. He just needs the guy on the other side, and Devin Haney's been talking a lot about him. He's talking about going and fighting Tank, but he's got to find the right partner and the right stage, because I don't think next Thursday is going to be it. But he's got to find that mega fight, and he'll kind of shoot up these lists as well, because he's very, very talented, just hasn't had the big time fight as of yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dominant fighter, former undisputed champion himself. At was it 130?
Yeah.
People kind of overlook that, but he dominated that, and he dominated Oscar Valdez to get those belts. And he's trying to do the same thing at 135, but like B said, he's trying to find the right partner, and it's been a struggle for him. And listen, man, like I said, I just don't think Top Rank is a place for black fighters. I'm gonna be honest about that. But he's got a fight coming up for a belt, and I think he'll be dominant in that performance. But unfortunately, like I said, like he doesn't have the resume as some of his other counterparts. Not his fault, in my opinion. Not for lack of effort, but
It's Top Rank's fault.
Yeah, it's Top Rank's fault.
See,
Absolutely.
they've also hamstrung Artur Beterbiev. See, guys, look right, bam, right there.
No.
Bam. See that? Bam. Bam.
No.
Okay. No, also too, Jose, I think you're correct, right? 'Cause I think you're correct in that assessment. Like if people look at Jose, be like, Jose, why you gotta make it racial? That's not cool. You're absolutely 100% correct. It took Terrence Crawford one fight. One fight.
One fight.
One fight. Now now everyone knows his name in boxing.
Be fair, it took him 2.
Huh?
He fought David Evanesian on his own, and that did not work out well.
Okay.
And then he got with a real promoter.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But nobody should be asking why I'm making it racial. This is boxing. It's always
racial, dog. It's literally, bro. Like yo, don't even talk about like. I remember the famous fight between Muhammad Ali and some Irish dude, and it was the biggest fight in the world because one, he was white and he was Irish, and the Irish support their own, and he was also white, so the white folk supported the white man. Then Muhammad Ali was like, "I'm gonna whoop your ass."
It's one of the most racist spaces in the world, and we all just accept it.
Yeah,
literally, dog. It is. It's extremely national, extremely racist. Don't even get me started with Bernard Hopkins did to the Puerto Ricans. Like, you know what I mean?
I know.
Yeah, it's took a couple kids' dreams away.
Yes. Me being one of them.
Jose being one of them.
For those that don't know, Killer Cam, Jose is Puerto Rican. Shakur came in
black and Puerto Rican.
Hold up. You're just gonna leave me out of that? I ain't Puerto Rican.
You're African. Shut up.
Suge is also black and Puerto Rican.
You can't be everything, Suge. All right, you're not Omni-Man down there.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, you're not. Yeah, you're not the racial rainbow up in this piece. Get out of here, dog.
I actually pretty close to it. But.
Yo, meet the racial rainbow. Meet the rating rainbow.
But Shakur was highest
my brother
on your list and Mike's list, coming in at number 7. And then, like I said, Ferris left him off entirely.
Wow. Disrespectful.
Sunshine Mike, you got any words?
Yeah, Shakur. Look, Shakur is, as y'all all said, supremely talented. He's one of the top fighters in the world, in the sport. I'm starting to believe. I'm starting to feel like maybe he should have took Haney. Look, it's a lot of back and forth on this offer or whatever, but I'm starting to believe he should have just taken it to shut him up.
Yeah,
and then do what he got to do. But that is the fight that I want and need to see more than any fight. I don't even want to. I want to see him and Haney over him and Tank and him and anybody else. But I think he's that guy. I think he's clearly one of the top young guns, and he'll be around one of the best in the sport for a long time. But he does need that marquee fight, and I do feel like sometimes because of what he deals with, I think he's not a guy that somebody's always looking to beating down the door to fight. If that 25-75 or whatever the offer was, whatever they saying it was, if that was the offer, he probably should have taken that. He probably should have taken it.
I feel like, and this is just my opinion, obviously there's no, I'm not involved in negotiations or anything. I think that Haney would have found a reason not to do that fight if he accepted it.
Yeah.
I mean, he made it clear that he was moving up to 140 and he's having trouble making 135. He put out an offer that he knew Shakur wouldn't accept. And if he said yes, I think he would have just found another reason to not do it. Like Anthony Joshua used to do with Deontay Wilder.
Well, I mean, that's exactly what he did, because he tried to back out when Shakur said that's too low, and Shakur petitioned for him to be the mandatory. He won, and Haney's like,
he left.
Yeah, all right, I'm out.
Also, he's fighting next week. This will be his second fight in 2023. So the activity's there. So he may show up on a future list.
Yeah, breaking your own rules, got it. Moving on.
I didn't know he was fighting next week. That's why.
Maybe you should have done your research.
Maybe Top Rank needs to promote better.
Dmitry Bivol comes in at number 7 with 21 points, and it looks like he made every list. Yeah, I think so. So, hands down, better than Artur Beterbiev in everyone's opinion except for Ferris.
Yep.
I had him highest, I believe, at number 5. Well, me and Suge both had him at number 5. Jose had him at number 6, and Mike had him at number 8 because Mike likes to cheat. But again, Ferris, the only one who had Beterbiev ranked higher than Bivol because Ferris doesn't respect tough competition.
Yeah, this was I felt like I should have ranked him higher, but again, inactivity. But the way he dominated Canelo, man.
So we keep bringing that fight up, but he did fight someone else. He fought Gilberto Ramirez afterwards.
Yes, Zurdo Ramirez was another dominant performance because Zurdo was undefeated.
Another guy that Beterbiev hasn't fought.
Right. Well, right. But again, like those two fights were dominant performances. But how long ago was that?
A year.
Yeah,
literally a year ago.
Yeah.
November 5th, 2022.
Yeah.
That's why he's so low on my list. It's just the inactivity, but he has made himself into a pretty dominant fighter once he gets out there. The thing about him is he just wants to, like, he want to fight. He not worried about the money. You know, like he could have cashed out and took whatever Canelo was offering him or whatever the case may be for the rematch. But he not, you know, he took that and said, no, we're going to, you know, since I whipped your ass, we're going to fight on my terms. And they didn't meet his terms. But he has to be more active. But he has turned himself into a really, really good fighter. But yeah, the inactivity just dropped him on my list.
And he talked about how, like, you know, like he's kind of getting squeezed out of these fights. It's hard, you know, it's hard for him to find a fight out there.
He's Boots Ennis of that division. Where you know, he's not a guy that people are jumping to fight. I mean,
I feel like Boots,
Boots
Boots could find some fighters. He's been laser focused on certain fighters.
It's some dancing going on around there, but yeah, you know, it takes two to tango. So I think Bivol and then in this case Boots, they play their part in it too. But I don't think they're guys that people are saying like, oh yeah, give me him, I want to fight them right now. So
yeah,
you know.
Also too, I would like to reiterate, the last time we did this, I said, you know, when they two fight, we'll know who the best is. And then there's the opinion. End of discussion. There's no discussion. I won't be, if Bivol beats the living shit out of Artur Beterbiev, then I won't be saying Beterbiev is better than him.
Yeah, that's how it is.
That's what I love about boxing, man. A debate can end if they just fight. Boom.
Yep. Get it over with.
Until if they do a rematch and the other person then beats them in the rematch, and then another debate erupts.
All right. Put on to number 6, and I want to go to Suge here because Suge had this guy ranked lowest on his list, or on any of the 5 lists. This is our first fighter. No, the second fighter who made every list. But Suge initially didn't have him on his list. It was added late.
Because
Tank Davis coming in at number 10 for Suge, coming in at number 6 on our overall list with 22 points, edging out Bivol by 1.
He should be on the list. I think that what happened was Brodny's trying to make me look bad and deleted my number 4, and that's why he wasn't on the list. And then we had to readjust the list. But he's on my list. He's on my list.
Yeah, he's on your list at number 10.
But he should be higher.
Why do you hate people from Baltimore?
I think, well, first off, that's an easy question. They're from Baltimore. Secondly, I think Brodny just purposely did that to make me look foolish. So I'm even looking at it. It looks like
6?
It looks like edited by Brodny. I think Brodny.
I can't edit your posts. But yes, Tank came in at number 6 overall on the list. Just beat out Bivol by 1 point. Like I said, Suge had him the lowest at number 10. It looks like Mike might have. No, Ferris had him highest at number 4.
Yeah, he's another one. Like, impressive wins.
Fought twice this year.
Yeah, he did, and dominant performances. But like, he didn't fight guys that were high up there to begin with. But you know, like it's time. You know, it's time people want to see that signature match for him. You know.
Yeah, I think where I have him too. Where I have him 5.
You had him at number 5, yes, sir.
So this is the thing. Tank, leading into the fight with Garcia. Oh, he don't want to fight. He ducking. They won't make the fight happen. Then they made the fight happen, and it was like the holy grail of fights. Oh, these guys made it happen. Look at this. Look at this. Then he destroys him, and now it's back to Tank ain't fighting nobody. So it's like it's that's the part I'm not. I'm like they were. A lot of people singing Ryan Garcia's praises going into that fight, and now Tank gets no credit for it, and it's somewhat of the Mayweather. I think we spoke about that before. It's somewhat of the Mayweather treatment. Like when they make a solid, good fighter look bad, then it's they ain't fought nobody. Yeah. So, Tank is 5 on my list because he did beat a good fighter. He dominated a good fighter. A lot of people said that Garcia would give him issue, and he didn't. And he's box office. So I think that you have to when you talk about Tank, you have to put all of that into the mixing bowl. He sells fights no matter who it is he's fighting, and Ryan Garcia, who's a name that you hear thrown out there a lot, he destroyed him. So
Also too, man, he did something like nowadays boxing matches. They're few and far between, right? They wait over a year, some wait 2 years, some haven't fought in 4 years. You know what I mean? So like having 2 fights in 1 year, even though it's Hector Garcia and Ryan Garcia, people may not look at them and be like, that's not a good solid resume. You still fought twice in 1 year, demolished homie. It was a retirement, and then people like I make fun of Ryan Garcia all the time with his Instagram followers and does he really love boxing? He's a solid boxer. He's good. He's not great. He's good. And like you said, Mike, it's better boxer makes good boxer look like a bad boxer.
Yeah.
And then people are like, oh, then Ryan Garcia was never good. No, it's not that Ryan Garcia isn't good. It's just Tank Davis is just better. It's literally what happened with Spence. Everyone thought Spence was the man. Big fish. Everyone the nicknames. He gonna survive. Terrence Crawford made him look like, this amateur hour, dog.
Yeah.
There's nothing. And this is Errol Spence, not Ryan Garcia. Errol Spence, the word great was attached to his name, right? Mm-hmm. And Terrence Crawford was like, great mob derriere, watching me whoop. And then he whooped him. Ryan Garcia is good. And that's why Tank Davis made him look like he don't deserve to be in this ring.
Number 5?
Number 5.
Number 5.
Number 5 is going to be a guy who, I think kind of gets disrespected, and on this show it included, but has a really good resume. He got a what you call a signature win recently, although it was a little bit controversial. But even outside of that, just the things that he's accomplished at such a young age definitely warrant his spot on the list. At number 5 with 29 points, we've got Devin Haney. Devin, of course, made every list. We have him as high as it looks like number 3 on Jose's list, which is insane. But again, one of the few undisputed champions. He got the win over Lomachenko, even though he didn't beat Lomachenko. But again, he's only I think 24, I believe, still at this point. And already an undisputed champion, moving up to 140, chasing titles there as well. One of the most skilled fighters out there, and so definitely deserving of this spot.
I do not think 3 is insane, right? And this is, I told you, number 3 is where I was kind of like, man, who do I put here, right? But look, these pound for pound lists, they get updated quarterly, right? Because we're living in the moment with these lists. And in the moment, you have somebody who's undefeated. He was an undisputed champion, and he has one of the better resumes out there. Like I think Tank is better than him, but he's got a better resume than Tank, right? I think Shakur is better than him. He's got a better resume than Shakur. So I'm living in the moment and saying, all right, I got to give this guy his props. Like I don't think he lost to Lomachenko. It was a close fight. I think he won it. I think it would have been great if he did a rematch and dominated him. But Lomachenko is an excellent fighter himself. So, but yeah, I mean, I thought 3 was fine. 5 is fine with me too. But
Mike's ascending.
Yeah, Mike, what is going on, bro?
He couldn't fix it in the moment.
That's why he's in the middle. He's part of the Holy Trinity.
He tested it real quick. I was like, nope, get off. All right, coming into the top 4. I'm sure that most people can guess who the top 4 are, or who the fighters involved in the top 4. But coming in at number 4 itself, we have one of the more impressive fighters recently, I think. He dominated his division completely and then moved up and has honestly looked fairly dominant in his new division as well. He's got a major fight coming up, I believe in January. But I'm talking about Oleksandr Usyk coming in at number 4. The guy who holds 3 of the heavyweight titles is going to be fighting Tyson Fury in a unification bout, but they're fighting for undisputed heavyweight champion. He looked great in his 2 fights against Anthony Joshua, as well as his couple of heavyweight fights before that. And like I said, he had dominated the cruiserweight division prior to that. The only thing really working against Usyk is his age. He's up there, but as of right now, still one of the best fighters in the world.
Well, also working against him is Tyson Fury, because he's talking about retiring. There's the reports coming from his camp saying that he might just call it a career. And to be honest, he's at that age. I mean, he could say, "Hey, I just don't have it anymore. I can just give it up." But I think Usyk, you guys know how we feel about Tyson Fury. We think he's a little fraudulent, but he has that reputation, and if he can go out there and beat Tyson Fury, Usyk can really move up this list. I mean, he's already at top 5, but beating Tyson Fury even at his age would give him some more credit on his resume.
Yeah, and Usyk came in at number 4 on 3 out of our 5 lists. He was number 5 on Jose's list, and then hating ass Ferris coming in with Usyk at number 7. I would love to hear the justification on that one. But I'm sorry,
heavyweights, man. It's heavyweights, man. I'm sorry, man.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Suge. That's what I said just now.
My question is more directed towards Jose, because I don't. Maybe we've had this conversation, or I just forgot, or I didn't pay attention. What's your guys' problem with Tyson Fury? Because there's going to be an obvious argument of
I don't have a problem with Tyson Fury. So again, like this is just our opinion.
Well, the fraudulent comment. That's what.
So the heavyweight division isn't that skilled. It hasn't been that good for a long time, right? Okay. The person that's kind of the face that's been the face of it, Deontay Wilder. He's not skilled, right? And I mean we've said this from early on in his career, like. This dude, he can't box. He's very powerful, right? And he's entertaining. We like him, but he can't box. You can't throw a jab. Like that's one of the first things that they teach you, and he can't do it. And people let him get away with it because he was knocking people out.
Spectacularly.
Tyson Fury and Tyson Fury has been dropped. I mean, Tyson Fury, let's be real, got knocked out by him as well. Because Tyson Fury isn't a skilled fighter himself. He's just a bigger fighter. He leans on his opponents a lot to wear him down, which is what he did in the second fight with Wilder, right? And knocked him out. And in the third fight, they both looked sloppy. It was an entertaining fight. People talked about how great it was. It was a very sloppy fight. That wasn't a great fight. Those are 2 unskilled fighters that are just falling over each other, right? It's entertaining, but that's not skill right there. Oleksandr Usyk is very skilled, right? Like what him and Joshua did, that was a great. Those are 2 great fights in my opinion. So again, it's not anything personal against either one. Like I enjoy watching their fights, but no, I just don't think they're that good.
Yeah, the reality for me, the Tyson Fury, his resume, because we're talking about resumes for all these fighters. His resume is he beat a 39-year-old Vladimir Klitschko, and then he had 3 fights with Deontay Wilder, who is unskilled, right? Yeah. He fought one of them to a draw. He won the others, but he didn't look great winning those fights. And then he went out and a lot of people think lost a fight to an MMA fighter in his first ever boxing match.
Yeah.
Also, too, his resume is padded by the same fighter fought more than once. He has 3 fights against Derek Chisora. He's fought Derek Chisora 3 times.
Yeah.
He's fought Deontay Wilder 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's fought Dylan White twice.
It's twice.
Once. I think it's once. My bad. Let me
You might be right. I don't know.
Yeah, because the British heavyweights they fight each other more than once.
Well,
Even
I mean, I don't even blame him for that. It's just that there's not a lot in the heavyweight division.
Exactly.
You know, like
I mean, so then you're contradicting yourself, Paris. You say you got to fight who's in front of you. He fought who was in front of him. He beat him.
Oh, Artur
just saying.
Beterbiev coming back to bite you.
I'm just saying, like, if you
Right.
want to say, like,
Right.
I understand Jose's point.
where's the sound bite, Suge? Got him.
No, I'm not gonna do it to Paris, but I'm saying I understand Jose's point. He doesn't see him as a skill fighter, things like that. But at the end of the day, he's still the linear champ. He's still now.
That's the thing. I don't want to say they made it up because I mean
I think they really did make that up. I
No,
really
it
think
is.
they made that up.
It's a real thing.
It's a real
But
thing.
no, it's a real thing, but it was never promoted. But then when he came back, Top Rank needed when they got him, they needed a heavyweight championship because
and it was a real thing when there was one belt.
yes,
You know, this would be a great conversation.
And he doesn't have 3 of them. So don't tell me that he's the
man who beat the man.
This would be a great conversation for like honorable mentions and afterthoughts.
Yeah,
Also, dude-
I was just pointing out the fact that what you had said, because to me, if Usyk is going to climb this list, yes, he has to beat Tyson Fury. But if Tyson Fury beats him, now I didn't know about the retirement stuff. I haven't heard anything about that. So
if Tyson Fury beats him, I'll give him some more credit for sure.
Yeah, and for me, if Usyk beats Fury, I had Usyk at number 4, and then I will have Usyk at number 4 because Fury's not good.
And they call you the hater. And they call you the hater, Ferris.
No, also too that he's fought the same guy more than once. He has, and like, why is he fighting Derek Chisora for the 3rd time if the first 2 fights weren't at all close?
Because that's the problem.
There's no one else to fight.
There is somebody else to fight. He hasn't fought Anthony Joshua.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but actually Joshua lost.
But here's the thing. Because he knows Anthony Joshua's going to beat him.
Well,
I'll be honest.
I'm not even talking about like right now. Sure, I mean, just at any point he hasn't fought anything. Now I know they had it set up before Joshua lost to Usyk, right? But I'm saying there was plenty of opportunity prior to that for him to fight Joshua. Didn't happen, and you can say whatever reasons for it, but it hasn't happened, right? Anthony Joshua is the other top heavyweight out there, and he hasn't beaten
in England.
He hasn't fought
in England
more.
He's 4.
I'll be honest.
3.
That third fight for Derek Chisora is why I like him a little bit more now, because he's a damn good friend. All right.
Mhm.
Like, that's his friend. He said, I want to get you another payday. And he got him paid. Like, as a person, I'm like, damn, that's, he takes care of his people. I respect that. But that does nothing for his legacy.
Then you just proved my point more. He's fighting his friend who probably didn't want to really fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
that's all. That's all speculation.
He wanted that fight for that, but look, I am the member. I'm the member of Ring Kings that I kind of disagree with these guys. I like Fury. Fury was on my list. I do think he's skilled, right, for a big guy. I don't think he's supremely skilled, but maybe he's more crafty than skilled. Maybe that's what I'm mixing up. But I think he's solidly skilled for a big guy. But I agree, resume wise, and you can probably say this as a whole for the heavyweight division, which is why it's even more important for these guys to fight each other, because it's only so many of them, and it's just it's harder and harder to make these fights. But that's why Usyk and Fury is going to be a big fight. It needs to happen. It's looking like it's supposed to happen late December. Now it's being pushed back. We don't know when it's going to happen, if it's going to happen at all. But yeah, the division needs to see this fight. If the fight goes as planned, then it may open up and we may see Wilder and Joshua. We may see whatever, the loser fight one of them. But the sport in the division needs to see them fight. But I like Fury. He was on the edge of my list this time because of his showing with Ngannou. But yeah, I think he is. I think he's a little more skilled than my counterparts give him credit for.
my thing is this, man. In the heavyweight division, man, it's one hit a quitter, and it's over.
Exactly.
You know,
And
and it's like
anybody can be
anybody can, like, you know, like we talk about Hassan Rahman and Lennox Lewis, but like even with Tyson Fury, he almost lost to Otto Wallin. Otto Wallin, if he was a little bit more of a boxer, he would have known this man has a massive cut on his left eyebrow. Attack him. And Otto Wallin couldn't do nothing.
Yeah.
Couldn't do nothing because he just couldn't do nothing.
All right, moving on to this editorial nightmare. What's next? So number 3.
Number 3, this guy made every list at number 3 except Jose's. Jose had him coming in at number 4. Classic hater. Coming off of a dominant victory against Jermell Charlo. None other than Saul Canelo Alvarez.
Listen, of course I put him at 4. I moved him up. I was thinking about putting him lower than that because Bivol is still rated lower than him, and Bivol dominated him. And if we're being honest, you're talking about Charlo, who had to move up 2 weight classes to fight this guy. He was outclassed. And that was the first fight that he looked good in years. Okay. He's been looking bad. He's been looking like he's been falling off for a while. Now, I'd give him credit for that fight because, yes, even though Charlo moved up 2 weight classes, Charles is still an excellent fighter. So I'm not going to take that away from him. But, you know,
sounds like you're trying to take it away from him.
No,
right?
No, just overall, like, okay, that's why he moved up. But moved up to 3, I couldn't put him above. See, that's what I'm talking about. I can't put him above undefeated Devin Haney. Devin Haney, who was undisputed champion.
I mean, you could have, because you put Devin Haney at number 3, despite him being higher than the dude who beat him, Vasily Lomachenko.
Lomachenko did not beat him.
Lomachenko beat him.
Lomachenko did not beat him.
But please continue.
I stand tall in my decision to put him at 4. I really, if we're being real, Bivol should be above him.
I don't think so. I don't think the Bivol should be above him, but I understand what you mean about, obviously he dog walked him in that fight.
That's what I'm saying.
But again, that's a higher weight class, and it was just too big for Canelo. I think if we're looking,
but that's what we can say about Charlo. But we moving Charlo.
We can say that about Charlo, and it's true about Charlo. But Charlo doesn't have the resume that Canelo has. Period. And Bivol doesn't have the resume that Canelo has outside of that fight either. He doesn't.
Also, too, with Charlo,
we're
talking about recent. We're talking about recent resume.
No, I'm talking about the entire body of work right now. Because my second point is that it is weighted to the present time, right? Yeah. And presently, he looked fantastic. Yes. He wiped away the thoughts of maybe he's declined, maybe he doesn't have it anymore. Not thinking that after the Charlo performance. So if you take away the concerns about him being in decline, which were legitimate concerns over his last 3 or so fights, then you're looking at their resumes. He has a better resume than Bivol. He has a better resume than Charlo, obviously, and I think he's a better fighter than Bivol, and it's just Bivol is just too big for it.
I think you look at Bivol's last 2 fights, Canelo and Zurdo, versus Canelo's last 2 fights, Charlo and John Ryder. Bivol looked better,
which is fine. I mean, I understand. I think the John Ryder fight, it looked like Canelo wasn't even trying. Yeah. He looked better against Charlo than Bivol looked against Zurdo, in my opinion. But as I said, at that point, I'm looking at his entire resume, which includes wins over a bunch of other champions and moving up through the weight classes, which is why I have him higher than Bivol on my list.
Also, too, I do agree with you on the Charlo bit where, he shouldn't be fully off this list. He should. I only dropped him a couple spots because he lost, just like what I did with Canelo when he lost to Bivol. Canelo was 2. I dropped him down to like 4 or 5, I believe, in the re-rankings. So I'm gonna with you on that. I wouldn't fully take Charlo off the list because just like what we gave Canelo, he dared to be great. I'm not gonna punish him, but I'm gonna move him down a bit. That's what I did with Charlo. I just moved him down a bit.
Hold that thought, because we have an honorable mentions segment after this. So
and I do want to mention, Jose, that I have him just 2 spots ahead of Bivol, just like you.
Yeah, I know.
So
I know. That's why I was
calm it
torn.
down.
Listen, I'm giving him credit, but I'm saying like that's why I was torn
I
by this.
understand. No, but I mean the argument for me is Haney, and Haney deserves to be high up on the list. I just don't think he should be third. I don't think he's the third best fighter in the world. That's all.
Yeah, but we're doing this. We're doing this in a vacuum, right?
Yeah.
And we're doing this quarterly. I want to give him his props and recognize what he's done over these last few fights. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Suge,
Anybody?
Mike, you have any thoughts on Canelo? I know Suge has thoughts on Canelo.
I mean, I understand where Jose's coming from, but you look at the Charlo fight for Canelo. A lot of people thought Charlo was going to give him problems, and it wasn't even close. And to me, the Bivol fight with Canelo, I think the later rounds, Bivol dominated him, but those first maybe 5 rounds, I don't think Bivol really dominated him. I think it was.
Right, so Suge's check cleared.
He was one of the judges.
Saul just hit me up and gave me my money. I don't think he dominated him until the later rounds. Because like Brodny, of you said, he was so bigger that Alvarez just gassed out. And so I understand, like Paris said, he dared to be great and things like that. And again, in an alternate universe, Charlo is on this list. Just throwing it out there.
I think so.
I think that when you look at Canelo and what he did to Charlo, you got to look at it just as a one-on-one situation. Is this fighter better than Canelo? And then you start breaking it down. Okay, resume, last couple fights, dominance. Like, we've never seen Canelo get knocked out. That's the first time we see, you could say he's gotten dominated since Mayweather was by Bivol. That's almost a long time between those fights.
Mhm.
So, I mean, you gotta kind of put that in perspective. And to me, it's just not enough to move Canelo that low down. Like, I just think that he has to be 3 or 4 to me, no matter what. And I understand why you put him at 4, Jose. I'm not gonna be like Brodny and like tear you down and tell you you're wrong. But I feel that Canelo is 3.
Incredible. I just want to point out for the record that I had that Bivol Canelo fight 11-1 for Bivol, and that was because I was desperately looking for a round to give Canelo.
Well, thank God you don't do judging. So
Just because I don't like giving anybody 12-0 fights.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. But no, Canelo actually moved up for me. If you compare my last list, but I think for me, the things I compile in it. One, I am one of those guys that thought Charlo would give him a little issue just based off of how he looked against John Ryder, how he looked against in the fight before that. I can't remember who he fought before that, but it just looked like Canelo was on the downward, so the back 9 of his career, as some would say. But he came in, he looked, like he was motivated again to be great. So he looked pretty good again. He looked great against Charlo, I'd say. So I am one of those guys. Plus, again, he's box office, right? No matter John Ryder or if it's Charlo, he's selling out. He's selling fights. So I think you got to put that into consideration when you making a pound for pound list. So again, if Charlo would have made it halfway, a halfway decent fight, he might not have been as high as 3 for me. But he dominated a world-class fighter. Even though he moved up and dared to be great, he dominated that kid. And I thought Charlo would really, really be, or at least pose issue for him, and he didn't at all. And
to his point before, I don't even know that we can really include the Bivol fight in this narrative in terms of this particular pound for pound list, because if you listen after the Canelo fight, he said that no one can beat this Canelo, implying that was in fact a different person who lost to Dmitry Bivol.
Well, you know what?
And Canelo's slate is wiped clean with this fight.
Yeah,
there you go.
Right.
Touche.
But you know what though? Mike just said something that made me think, and I think now I got to push back on Jose, because we were talking about I did first. My apologies.
Okay.
My bad. Where he said, he jumped. Charlo dared to be great and jumped up 2 weight classes. Well, and Canelo did it. Well, the difference is the big thing I saw going into that Charlo fight was, well, Charlo's the same size as Bivol, and is bigger than Canelo. So
No, he wasn't.
No.
yeah, he was. They did
No.
that. That was what was said, that Charlo was,
And people were lying.
No, it's
bigger
not,
than
that's not true.
what I mean. It's easy to look it up. It's not
Yes, you can
hard.
look it up.
No,
How big
Suge, I agree with you. Those statements were made. I agree, but I'm also telling you, sports people lie all the time, especially in boxing.
Like Ferris when he was like, Shakur doesn't belong on this top 10 list.
Well, I think Suge's point is that it was more of a natural transition for Charlo to move up than it was for Canelo, because they say Charlo.
Oh, you're saying he's naturally bigger? Is that what you're trying to say?
He walks around closer to that one,
to 168.
Yeah, then Canelo walks around at whatever he fought.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm also talking about size. Canelo's 5'8", Jamel's 5'11". So he's bigger than Canelo.
He's taller.
He's
but
he's naturally bigger.
He had a longer reach and all that, and
yeah, he had a longer reach. So you can't say, well, he jumped up 2 weight classes, and
he's not naturally bigger than Canelo. Canelo might be shorter, right?
I think he's not
naturally bigger. And my thing is this: when Canelo lost to Bivol, he didn't go off of anybody's top 10 list, right? They said we recognize, man, he's moving up 2 weight classes. And that might have been a little too far for him, but we recognize he was still a great fighter. We're not giving Jermell Charlo that same type of consideration. We're saying, man, he went up there, he didn't look great. So,
No, I think we are giving the same kind of consideration. It's just that he wasn't as high on the list as Canelo was. That's why he fell off of my list. He was in the bottom half of the list to begin with.
Yeah.
And then, he fell off of the list. Canelo was at number 1. And, he fell into, I believe I had him in the bottom half of my list right after that Bivol fight.
Right.
But my argument is, and I to me, you're saying, well, he's not naturally bigger. I mean, he's bigger than Canelo. He has a longer reach.
No. So you're saying bigger. So bigger isn't just taller, right? You're saying
I understand that, but the point is they were saying that he was a Canelo jumping up 2 weight classes at a smaller size is more difficult than a guy jumping up from 2 weight classes that's bigger than that in bigger, taller,
harder for Canelo
longer.
to put on that extra weight.
Yeah.
I don't agree, because Canelo has been walking around heavier. He's been fighting heavier. Like that's been the whole thing with Canelo these last few years, is that he can knock out heavyweights. Like he, and that's where he kind of changed to more of a flat-footed style, because he goes into the ring thinking, I can get with these first couple of rounds because I'm just going to wear on this other guy. I'm just gonna beat him down because I'm that much stronger than them, right? And that's what got him in trouble with Bivol. He didn't go in there thinking, I have to actually box this guy. He thought I can just wear this guy down, and he got his head rocked, right? Like, no, I don't buy that. Canelo has always walked around heavier, which is why he went up to light heavyweight, because that wasn't his first light heavyweight fight. He knocked out Kovalev.
Yeah, but I think the fact that he's very short and has a shorter reach is a bigger disadvantage than just the weight that he normally carries around. Because Dmitry Bivol, he fights at 175. He probably walks around close to 190, whatever. Yeah. Like, he's a much bigger guy than Canelo. And the fact that Canelo's 5'8", or wherever he is, and I mean he doesn't have reach advantage against the guy in his own weight.
He's listed at 5'8".
Right? And to move up, it's a bigger deal because when you are taller and you have that reach, it makes it easier to move up and be more competitive, because you can jab and move like Charlo likes to do, and I think it's harder, potentially harder for Canelo to even get to a guy like Bivol, and getting through his jab. But I mean, the fact is, like you said, he had moved up there before. He wasn't He wasn't like, it wasn't a huge difference in size necessarily, right? Like he's used to having a shorter reach, and he got washed. But and again, that's the same thing that happened to Charlo. And we're not saying that these are the worst things in the world because they were fighting out of their weight class.
Yeah,
they both got downgraded a bit. It's just that Canelo was a better fighter prior to his loss than Charlo, or better thought of than Charlo prior to that loss, and that's why Charlo fell off our list and Canelo didn't.
Not by me.
A long way to
Not
fall.
by me.
In another universe, Charlo is on this list. I'm just saying.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's a recording out there of Charlo on this list.
The Billy Joe Saunders fight and the Caleb Plant fight, even though they ended in knockouts, me and Mikey started to see a little slippage in Canelo from there. I had Caleb Plant winning that fight until he got knocked out. He looked off from that point,
which is fine. Caleb Plant is a skilled fighter. He was beating David Benavidez until Benavidez knocked him out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that you have to look at the results of the fight, because every single fighter can go into a Caleb Plant fight and say it doesn't matter what happens in these first 6 rounds. It doesn't matter if he outboxes me in these first 6 rounds, because he's gonna gas out.
Well, yeah, and we wrote that off. That, I wrote that. I said, okay, yeah, hey, he got the knockout. Then he loses to Bivol. Then he fights Triple G, and it's like, oh, okay, then I guess he looked all right. Then John Ryder, he doesn't look good in the John Ryder fight, and like he just wasn't looking good up until the Charlo fight. He wasn't looking good.
And that's fine. And Jamel lost a fight prior to losing to Canelo too. But he came back and he won. Canelo came back and he beat up Charlo, and he looks much better now. I mean, look, we kind of looked at it as a little bit of an excuse when he lost to Bivol, but he said he had been dealing with a lot of injuries and he needed time off, and it looks like that was the truth. He came back and he looked much, much better against what a lot of people thought was a superior boxer.
Well, Jamel's coming off of a win.
Yeah.
He's talking about
he'd lost before, so I'm saying. He wasn't undefeated, is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
Another thing too. All of us, right, going into that Bivol fight, we didn't think Bivol had a chance, right? Just because it's Canelo, right?
Yeah.
And Canelo's going, and we were all upset because we felt like he chose the easier route, right? What he had.
I did not feel like that, but
you did. You're on record of saying that you didn't feel that way, but the fan wanted to see Benavidez and Charlo rather than it being Triple G and Bivol, and we thought that the Bivol fight, whatever, Canelo's gonna win that. Versus going into this one with Charlo, there were really people who thought that Charlo had a chance. You know what I mean? And I think that affects the way you look at it and how the outcome affects just your thought on it, whether it affects the list or wherever you place them or whatever the case may be. You got to consider, them both daring to be great, as you say, as they say. But I do agree with B to his point. Having, as stated before, Charlo, even on the national list and the 4-letter networks, their list, Charlo was being left off of that list even when he was at the top of his game or whatever the case may be. So him naturally being lower on the list is a little easier to slide him off than it would be for Canelo. I know personally Canelo had moved from probably top 3 down to about 7 or 8 on my list when he lost to Bivol and all of that. So interesting conversation, but see, all things got to be considered there.
Yeah, interesting conversation that should not have been on the pound for pound list. My apologies. I just put my 2 cents out there.
All right, continue this derailment of the fast pound for pound list.
It's fine because I think we all know who's at 1 and 2. So I'm not even going to do these one at a time. We're just going to say them both. They were unanimous 1 and 2.
Yeah.
By the way, all 5 lists had these guys at 1 and 2. Number 2, coming off of what we thought at the time. One of the most impressive fights that we've seen in quite a while. was a monster in a way. Naoya in a way beating down Stephen Fulton, being stronger and faster, both with his hands and his feet, than a guy who looked like a one of the best boxers in the world, and just completely washed him.
Yeah,
and we were like, man, it doesn't get more impressive than that. Like, that was an amazing performance. And we said that night that he's number one. He has to be number one. We got the Spencer Crawford fight coming up, and unless that goes off the rails, Monster's number one, and then that one. Then Spence fell down after Crawford jabbed him, and we're like, well, Crawford just turned in one of the best performances of all time.
Dude, there was one point where Spence hit him in the face and Crawford laughed.
There was a point where, like, in the first round, because I thought I had picked Spence to win. I thought he was going to be bigger. I thought he was going to bully him. And the crazy thing is, like, when they got in the ring, Crawford even looked bigger. But there was a point. The first round, I thought it went okay for Spence, right?
Mm-hmm. It did.
There was a point later on where he got Crawford on the ropes and landed what looked like a really good right, and then he was on the floor.
Yeah, he got. I thought he hurt Crawford at that point, and then
I had to see the replay. I didn't even see the punch. I had to watch the replay to even figure out what happened. I was like, "How did you fall down? Because you hit him so hard." But no, he got countered perfectly, like what was happening all night long.
I thought he slipped. I thought it was like a slip. I thought their legs got tight.
I thought anything happened other than Crawford knocked him down.
The crazy thing, bro, is Crawford like smiled after that, bro, like a psychopath. Yeah. Like a psychopath. Yeah. He's like, "Oh, that's cute. That's cute."
It was a good.
He landed over 50% of his punches. Yeah. I believe over 50% of his power punches. Like, it was just an unheard of performance, especially against a fighter of that caliber. So, like, there's no argument against Crawford being the number one pound for pound fighter in the world right now.
I mean, Fury should be up there, but I won't make it up.
Ngannou says no.
It was a good stretch of boxing that week, right? Yeah, I mean, Inoue fought on a Tuesday morning. But it was a good stretch of boxing.
Have we figured out why Tuesdays?
That's what they figured it out. That's the tradition in Japan.
Why Saturdays?
It's Tuesday night in Japan. It's morning for us.
Yeah.
Because we actually we argued with somebody in our comment in our Inoue video about that. They're like, it's not Tuesday morning just because you guys watch it in the morning. Doesn't mean it's in the morning. Yeah, it's morning for us, and this is our show, and we're saying it's morning, so it's morning, right?
Even if it was Tuesday night, just like we said to that guy, even if it was a Tuesday night, it's still a Tuesday,
right?
So and we stand by what we said. If Monster is going to be the household name, we all that as you said to begin the show, Jose, don't get in y'all feelings, because whenever we talk about Inoue, we seem to piss people off for some reason, even though we giving them his props.
Yeah, we all love it.
We seem to be pissing people off. But if Monster is going to be the worldwide household name that we all believe he can be, they're going to have to get him to fight over here in the States, or fight somewhere where he is fighting prime time on a Saturday night, because that it's not about us, right? Everybody on this panel, we're boxing fans, right? Mm-hmm. It's the casual fan that he needs to creep into the lives of to then become this big superstar name that we know he can be. And the only time he's going to do that is on a Saturday night, because that's when the casuals watch it, right?
Yeah.
We were the weirdos that streamed at 9 o'clock a.m. on a Tuesday because we watched the fight.
Right.
But the people who don't know who he is already aren't watching a fight on Tuesday morning when they're at work.
Exactly.
And he's fought in America. It was during COVID 2020 and 2021.
He fought Maloney.
He beat up Maloney. Then he came back to Vegas and beat up Michael Das Marinas. Yeah. And he knocked him on 3 rounds.
Yeah. No, Inoue understands.
But he's also
understands this. I mean, we don't need. I mean, this is not something that we need to argue. He understands this. He knows this. You know, like they're teasing a possibility of him fighting Tank down the road, and he understands, you know, what that could do for his career. Right, that fight's not going to take place in Japan.
No.
Right,
That's
Well,
gonna be
and look, again,
Vegas or Texas.
You know, we're only saying this if he wants to be that kind of superstar.
if
If he's fine, just, you know, with the level of fame he's got right now,
that's fine,
and the money he's making right now, then yeah, stay home and fight. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. We're just saying if he wants to be that face of boxing kind of thing, you know, and get his name up there like that, then yes, you have to fight in the U.S. You have to have U.S. fans.
Yeah. Now, and for Crawford, you know, he's getting all that off of this fight. You know, he's getting all kinds of interviews. He's on Joe Rogan. You know, like his name is out there now off of this fight, and this is something that Bob Arum had said publicly that he just couldn't. He said he couldn't get the fight done. He wouldn't get the fight done. And I think he wasted a good chunk of Crawford's career. Right. Just kind of sitting on him and saying that he wasn't a draw and all this other nonsense. He is a draw. He's a great fighter, right? And it's your job to promote him, and you wouldn't promote him. It's the same thing you're doing with Shakur Stevenson right now. Same thing you're doing with Devin Haney. Devin Haney, I think, should be bigger than what he is, right?
Devin Haney agrees.
Yes, Devin Haney agrees. But man, listen, Top Rank ain't the place for black fighters. I'm sorry.
So what do we expect for Terrence Crawford next? Is it
It's a rematch.
Canelo fight? It's a rematch and then the Canelo fight.
Hey man, let me tell you the stats, bro. I mean, like I knew the stats were crazy, but then when you look at these numbers, they're insane, bro. Like, so 50% of total punches, 185 out of 369, 42% jabs, 87 out of 206. But here's the crazy part: power punches, 98 out of 163. 60% power punching percentage, bro.
Jumping in that fight against
it's
Spence.
And some of that was a power. He was throwing a power jab. Which was crazy. Which was crazy.
Yeah. Now, okay. So here's a question before we get into some honorable mentions. Spence and Crawford fight again. Spence wins. What does that do for them in the rankings?
I think Spence falls out and Crawford stays at one.
No, I'm saying it's Spence.
My bad.
Wins. Yeah.
Spence wins.
It'll depend on how he wins, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How does he win? Does he win by decision? Does he knock him out? Things like that. Like, I don't think from that last fight, unless Spence changes something,
I don't see him winning. But let's say he does.
See him knocking out. He could win by decision.
He needs to get a lick to balance it out. He needs to get a lick for a lick. Yeah, he needs to get a knockout.
Yeah, he has to knock him
out.
So,
if he wins by decision,
sorry, go ahead.
If he wins by decision, this is the number one guy. So he was ranked what, 10th on this list. So he beats the number one guy.
But how? Split decision? Is it split decision? Is it?
But he just beats him. So he just
doesn't matter.
Decision just matter. I don't think. I don't think you.
It does matter.
Does
no,
matter.
I'm saying.
He just wins.
Okay, decision. He wins by decision. What is it? How far does he move up?
5, 4?
I don't think he does. I don't think he moves up.
He moves up. He moves up into the top 5 at least. I think you'll see a higher rise for him than you'll see the fall for Crawford.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
So
I don't think he moves up.
So sure, you're saying he's ranked 10th right now. If he goes back and beats Crawford, right, by decision, that doesn't move the needle at all.
Again, how did he dominate the fight? Was it a close fight? Did he just
even in a close fight? But if it's a
close fight, I don't think you. I think if you want to move up, especially against the number one fighter, what happens if something comes out that Crawford fucking broke his hand and
we don't do excuses.
I understand, but there's obviously reasons if he doesn't look good. Because you can't go from one of the best performances to one of the worst performances and then be like,
you can.
Are we sure?
Yeah, you can.
It happens all the time. I think.
Why? Because there's reasons behind it. There's something that happened.
If you broke your hand and you still fought, your fault. You shouldn't have fought. That's your fault.
So hold on.
Break your hand in the fight. You're not going to break your hand and then just go and.
Okay.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Or maybe I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
I think Davis won a fight when he broke his hand.
So,
And
so
and,
Davis can do it, you can do it.
we gave him more credit for winning that fight with a broken hand.
Mhm.
but well, hold on. So I'm not saying if he beats him by decision, he should jump ahead of him. But I'm saying he went from 1 to 10, right? You got Crawford who went from 2 to 1. If the rematch happens and Errol beats Crawford by decision in a close fight,
I got you. Jose.
that has to move him up from
It's,
10.
I think
I think he goes to 4.
I don't think he
No,
goes that
that's-
high. I think if he wins like a, let's say just a not a like a real close decision, but not a blowout, right? Let's say he wins by 3 rounds, something like that. I think Spence could move up from. For me, Spence would move up from, and obviously it depends on other fighters and what's going on at the time. But I would say 10 to maybe 6 or 7, and then Crawford would drop down from 1 to
3,
maybe
3 or
3,
4.
2 or 3.
You would still put Crawford ahead of him?
Yeah. If we're talking about just a
Because
regular
they're even.
a decision fight, if he goes out there and he knocks Crawford out,
That's a different story.
Then it's a different
Or he dominates him like Canelo dominated Charlo.
No, he needs to
Like,
knock
he's
him
just-
out. He needs to knock him out.
Here-
'Cause
no,
you need to get that lick back.
Here's-
You need to get it
Well,
back.
no, if he knocks him down a couple times but doesn't knock him out, let's say he gets 2 knockouts in the fight,
Here's why I asked. Right? 'Cause
and
you
it
brought
goes
up-
Crawford
the
had 3.
distance.
Crawford had 3,
Hold on. So you guys,
and he finished him.
You guys brought up, hey, reasons for why you look bad, they matter, right? We talked about, if it comes out he had a broken hand, whatnot. It's all been floated out there that Errol Spence was drained for that fight.
Yeah.
We all saw him before the fight even started that he looked off. He didn't look like himself, right? He's falling down from jabs, right? And even though him and his camp aren't putting it out there, that's what's floating out there. He wants his next fight to be at a heavier weight class. If he goes out there and he doesn't look like like Skeletor, and his eyes aren't bulging out of his face, and he looks more like Spence, and
He looks healthy.
He looks healthy, and he wins that fight, right? People might deduce that, hey, he just wasn't right in that first fight, right?
Yeah.
And
And
he
it
was
diminishes
always a better fighter. He was just drained. You know what I'm saying?
No, I agree. I agree with you. The problem is he agreed to that weight.
And that's
So that's the point I was making before.
It's a difference. But
But that's not an
belt.
excuse.
Right.
But that's
He had
not
the
an
belts that way,
excuse,
too.
though. That's not an excuse, though. That is an agreement that you should have said, "Yo, I don't think
it's
I can fight at 100% at this weight."
No, it is an excuse.
No,
You signed
it's different. It's different because what he's saying is, hey, okay, you know what? I want to make this fight. Everybody wants to see this fight. We're gonna do it at 147. It's
For the
tough
belt.
for me to. It's tough for me to make that weight, but I'm gonna do it. And then it was just tough for him to make the weight, and it didn't go well, right?
So
it went bad. But but what Suge's saying is, like, if they fight again, and let's say again, like what happened with Tank, there's a second round, Crawford hits him, breaks his hand, and he's limited the rest of the fight, and Spence wins a decision. That's different than what happened in their first fight.
yes, if it happens during the fight, but I'm talking about
But what you're talking about
Pacquiao
is the same
says,
thing with
"Hey,
Teofimo, right? It was very difficult for him to make that weight when he fought Kambosos, but he took the fight anyway. He could have. He said it after the fight, I should have just dropped the belt and moved on, but he didn't.
But
and
we didn't give. But nobody's giving him that excuse.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. It's different. That's my point. It's not the same.
But yes, something that happens during the fight, we understand. But like, if it's Pacquiao and Mayweather, and Pacquiao's like, well, I had a torn shoulder.
No, Pacquiao's full of shit. That was
he's a lion, bro.
He just got his ass.
If you are hurt, then you cancel the fight. You know what I'm saying?
That was just an excuse. He was just trying to save face after he got beat down. Yeah, that's a whole different thing.
You know how I knew Pacquiao wasn't all that when Juan Manuel Marquez took his soul.
Juan Manuel Marquez is a Hall of Famer, bro.
You're damn right he is.
Yeah, he ain't no slouch.
I hate drinking his own piss.
I don't know why you have to go there with it.
Okay, all right.
But for me, I think just like the outcome of to their point, right? Everybody's talking about the outcome. How does he win or whatever? I think for me, it affects from the top how far they fall rather than how far they climb, if that makes any sense, right? Like, obviously for me, You know, the way we had Spence at 1, the way he lost, we dropped. He fell off of our list completely, right? I think if he gets dominated by Spence, if Crawford was to get dominated by Spence, then I think he drops. You know, it affects how much he drops down the list, right? If Spence wins a close fight, split decision, or whatever the case may be, then you know you might see Crawford drop 2, 3, 4 spots max, right? But Spence has to move up at least 5
What you're
spots.
saying is
I
you
feel
get you get the credit for beating him, and then the person who lost gets the nuance.
yeah. I mean, yeah, in a sense, because it's like, and then he is the top guy, right? So you got it. There's to be some credit for beating the top guy, and that's exactly what happened to Bivol. Bivol wasn't thought about to be on any list, but once he beat Canelo, you saw his name pop up on these pound for pound lists. So, and Canelo was one of the top guys. So I just think you do get supreme credit for beating the top guy, but how far the top guy falls depends on how badly he gets his ass whipped.
Also, too, man, in the first fight, man, you know, Bud finishes them. He finished him.
He finished him.
He finished him. Like, he knocked him down 3 times and he finished him. In the rematch, if Spence wins a split decision or a unanimous decision, and it was a point match, that's cool. But like, no one's gonna forget the first fight where you had to like survive and win points. Where the homie was like, "I'm gonna take it." And also too, the weight class thing. If he said, "Oh yeah, that weight drained me and I didn't feel good at 147," if you're just like, "Now this is my weight, this is the weight that I feel good at," and you don't look better than Crawford did at 47, because Crawford then has to like put on weight and all that jazz, and you know sometimes you can't carry the weight properly like other fighters have done. And you're saying
they both want to fight at 150. I mean, they both have talked about
154.
Stay at 147.
Yeah, like Crawford moving up to 154, I don't think is any kind of detriment to him. He just wants to fight at 147 because he knows Spence can't make it.
Right. And I think that's why we don't see the rematch. The rematch doesn't happen if it has to be at 147. We don't see it. I know y'all seen the video of Spence holding the damn dog. He is every bit of 175 right there. That picture in that video.
Listen, so, I don't know how much he weighs, but he's every bit of loving life. All right.
Who was a better boxer in y'all opinion, Riddick Bowe or Holyfield?
That's a left turn, my dog. Like, what?
Better boxer, Holyfield.
Holyfield, yeah.
They both beat him twice.
Right.
Knocked him out once.
And that's the same thing with Shane Mosley and Vernon Forrest. We all know that Shane Mosley was a better fighter than Vernon Forrest, but Vernon Forrest kicked his ass.
Yeah, it's like Antonio Tarver and Roy Jones Jr. Is Antonio
but
Tarver?
But Riddick Bowe is a better I think he's a better caliber fighter. Or held in a higher regard than Vernon Forrest was.
Yeah, I think it's you run into some guys who just
you can't beat.
You can't do anything with. That's why they say styles make fights.
Also, too, and Riddick Bowe knew how to use his size against Evander Holyfield, because Evander Holyfield then ran into a problem where he was seen as like, oh, this is a heavyweight, and then he started facing heavyweights that were like, why are you 6'9"? What is this? And Evander Holyfield finally realized, like, yeah, I'm no longer a heavyweight.
I bring it up because I'm saying if Errol Spence beats Crawford, I'm putting him ahead of Crawford. I'm not saying it's leaps and bounds ahead of Crawford, but since we're doing these things in the vacuum, he just beat the guy. I'm putting him ahead of the guy. That's how I kind of look at it. Now, neither one of them are going to be number one, or probably not number 2 on my pound for pound list, but it definitely gets Errol Spence higher back, higher up the list.
Yeah, but it can't just be, hey, you beat the guy, you're ahead of the guy, right? Because I mean, there's upsets. That's that happens. I mean, the reality is, they were what 1 and 2 on our list before. If they fight and Crawford wins and they fight again and Spence wins, you could just make the argument that they should still be 1 and 2, right? I mean, it's just the top 2 guys beating each other. But that's why I'm saying it depends on how the performances go. Because Crawford, I mean, he was going to be number 1 regardless, beating Spence, because he was already ranked very high on the list. But the way he beat him made him unanimous number 1, right? Now, if Spence comes back and wins by a decision, you're not going to jump him over, let's say, Inoue.
No,
right?
I wouldn't know.
But that's what I'm saying. So now at that point, Inoue becomes number one.
Yes.
Even though it was just kind of the top two guys beating each other, now you're not looking at them the same way. Like it just depends on how those fights go.
Yeah.
I think if he wins by decision, but he washes him by decision, I think that's just as bad. That's just as good as a knockout.
Because it's thorough 12-round domination.
Yeah, if he wins 11-1 or something like that, that's a clear. You were clearly the better fighter that night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, if it would, but I agree with you guys. It would have to be that type of performance, like we said after the fight. Like I said after the fight, Bud had a 50-point night in the Garden, right? He was Michael Jordan in the Garden. Like he not many fighters fought better than that on a single night, and he was just in his bag. And hey, it was just a bad night. Look,
I'll tell you, man.
If it's going to be a night that you're going to drop 50, is that night. So
I mean,
he
Kobe
showed
dropped
up.
61, but I'm just saying.
he showed up when he was supposed to. So
61 shots. Well, go ahead.
So it would have to be dominating. It had to be a dominating
fashion. All right. Because this is completely off the rails. Honorable mentions.
Yeah, we kind of talked about Tyson Fury already.
Yes.
He received some
disrespect y'all give him. Yeah,
because he's a fraud. So he was one. Jermell Charlo got some votes as well. He had 5 points. It was 2 people had him on the list. 2 people.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
And like we said before, for Mike and myself, he was just too low down on the list when he lost to stay on the list.
Yeah.
Another honorable mention we had was he was number 10 on my list, and I believe on Mike's list as well. Yes, Mike's list as well, and Ferris didn't have him because Ferris is a hater. So just me and Mike had Teofimo Lopez at
okay, time out. How am I a hater, but the other 2 didn't have him on the list either? How, you know what? Screw this shit.
I didn't say they weren't haters. I was just pointing out the fact that you have a long history of hating.
Definitely an honorable mention. Listen, look, I wasn't gonna put him on the list. That was a dominant performance against Josh Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have Josh Taylor on any list.
Yeah,
no,
Josh Taylor shouldn't have been champion.
But he's a good fighter.
The reason it's the same situation that we're talking about with Errol Spence. Same situation that we're talking about with Jermell Charlo, right? You had a guy who was an undefeated champion, who, and in his case, very similar to Spence, who had trouble making the weight, in the fight, and he lost. He ended up losing the fight, and he kind of looked bad, after that, and then he came back and looked like himself in his last fight, beating an undefeated champion in Josh Taylor, right? And it's kind of the same thing that we talked about with Jermell Charlo. If he comes back in his next fight and he looks like Jermell Charlo and he gets the win, he can probably get back on the list. Same thing, with Spence. If he comes back, even if it's not against Crawford, if he comes back and looks good in his next fight and gets a win, he's going to be back on the list. So,
but also like you said before, like he was like, we've never Charlo was ranked low, which is why he fell off the list. We've never had Teofimo on any of these lists.
No, and that's true. But I don't think he was too far off the list. Is my thought. Again, he's an undefeated champion at arguably the best weight class in boxing at the time.
I would argue after the one performance we went to go see him in New York, he was further down the list.
Because I feel like every time we do one of these lists, Teofimo Lopez has done like something horrible. Every single time. It's like
but
he gets knocked out by Cambosis. Doesn't look good against one dude.
He didn't get knocked out. The point being that in his last fight,
he looked great.
He looked like he was back to being the Teofimo that everybody was so hyped about earlier on in his career.
5 pounds does a lot.
So if he continues that trend, then he definitely has an argument to sneak on the list, right? He's at 140 now. Like I said, he's a champion at 140. If he wins his next fight at 140, like for example, he probably has a better argument than
Didn't he
Shakur
retire?
for being on the list. He did, and then he unretired, I believe. Boxers do that a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. I think an honorable mention needs to go to Jake Paul. I'm just saying. Just throwing it out there.
Humble mention,
Hey.
Francis Ngannou, dog.
Listen,
Yeah.
if Tyson Fury's getting votes, Jake needs some too.
Hey,
Yeah.
Francis needs one.
Because Jake actually beat those MMA fighters that he fought.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
That's true.
And I think he's fighting a real fighter this time.
Yes.
His next fight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
So we'll see what happens. And just to show
I
Jose,
think we
Kobe
know
Bryant
what's gonna happen.
was 19 for 30 in the Garden when he scored that 61. So yeah, he only took 31 shots.
Still not the most. at the
Lots of
Garden
free
ever.
throws, huh?
23 throws.
Yeah.
Still not the most
was
at the
fine.
Garden.
Who has the most at the Garden? You should know. I'm not gonna.
Not a Nick. I'll tell you that.
It's Carmelo with 62. As a
Yeah.
Nick.
Mellow. There you go. All right. Ferris, Suge, thanks for coming through. This was a great conversation, man. It's a great conversation. And we will not take 6 months for the next pound for pound list to come out.
Actually, Ferris, that would be incorrect.
Oh,
Yeah.
here we go.
What are you talking about? It
Yeah.
is Carmelo with
Ferris
62.
Bum scoop.
No, it is.
It's according to this, it's Wilt Chamberlain with 100 points in 1962.
Oh, yes, true.
I have to do this for my man Caleb. Fact check Ferris. All right. If he was here, he'd be saying that.
Shit, I forgot. No,
And
wasn't. No,
Wilt
wasn't.
Chamberlain at
No,
New York
wasn't.
was 73.
No, it wasn't. No. Because he dropped 100 in Hershey, Pennsylvania. He had to drive back to New York with the Knicks team because he lived in New York. He didn't drop 100 in the Garden.
I'm just telling you what this says, and it says he also scored 73 at the Knicks.
Yeah, but he didn't score 100. That was in Philly.
And then Elgin Baylor scored 71 against the Knicks.
Was that in the Garden?
And then this says it was at New York. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's wrong. I think
So we're talking about the Garden. The Garden, man. It's the Garden.
Okay, all right. So
Okay,
let's
this is a
up.
boxing. Yeah,
Let's make this quick.
Sorry, I'm sorry, Jose.
All right, wrapping this up. Ferris, tell people where they can find you.
And y'all can find me on the Let's Get Ready Network every Friday, 3 o'clock Pacific. Good Friends, Better Rivals. Me and Caleb talk NFC East, American football, as well as every Friday, 8 o'clock Pacific on our entertainment channel. Me and Adelia have the open table. It's our long form discussion where we just have fun and shoot the shit. I think the latest episode, I don't know when this releases, but we talked about rugby, the strikes ending, and just, overall having fun, as well as every Wednesday, 9 o'clock Pacific, 12 o'clock midnight on KSFS Radio. As I got something to say with your boy Ferris Mathana. Last week, I talked about how the Houston Rockets are fighting back the minimalism in the NBA, the modern NBA, the BS jerseys they give us, those block letters, those single colored jerseys, the disgusting jerseys that Utah wears. You make me sick. You make me sick. And Houston brought out the Dunksternaut, baby. New court, astronaut dunking with the stars, lettering that's not block, it's wavy. Fight back. Add some pop and panache to sports jerseys, baby.
There you go. Suge, let the people know where they can find you.
You can find me at Suge Knight 323 on TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube, and Suge Knight 1323 on Twitch, where I'm usually playing Magic the Gathering, Fortnite, Apex. I'm going to be playing a new game called Warcraft Rumble. It's a mobile game, so come hang out with me. Usually going live on TikTok or Twitch. So appreciate being here talking boxing. And there might be a reunion with a certain somebody that I used to do a show with on this panel, but we might surprise some people. And Tuesdays you can find me Still Conspiracy with Brodny, talking Steelers, Panthers, possibly the Ravens every once in a while if someone shows up, and other sports like the NBA or UFC or boxing. So come hang out with us. Appreciate it.
All right. And you can find us at Ring Kings Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. All right. Also hit up our Patreon, patreon.com/LBHTShow. This is for this podcast as well as our main sports channel, Lunch Break Hot Take. All right. We got all kinds of nice perks for you for different tiers that you sign up for. So we appreciate the support. Also, Mr. OTR Mike has a podcast.
Yeah, so man, look, follow me at Open Mic with OTR Mike. Man, it's just a show where the mic is open for any discussion, man. And currently, the discussion going on over there is about what happened to me when I was on vacation. Okay, so if you want to find out what that is, go over there, subscribe, check out the story, and yeah, be more to come. So follow me there, and then follow me at OTR_Mike on Twitter. I'll never call it X. And yeah, you'll be a more up close personal with me there.
There you go. All right. Once again, thank you for hanging out with us. If you have some your own top 10 list that you want to share, go ahead and share it in the comments. You can add us at Ring Kings Pod and give us your comments, but be respectful. Don't be emotional about it. All right, let's have a nice, decent conversation, because I would hate to see your feelings get hurt when you realize you don't really care. All right, y'all. That's the show. B, are you ready, or you want me to do it?
I'm ready.
Wait, you're not ready. We're not ready yet.
Why aren't we ready yet?
Black Pride, baby. We in the building.
Now we're ready. We're out of here, y'all. Peace.